This is Andrew Bacon, Senior UX Designer in the AI-powered stage. And today I'd like to share with you a proposal for how end users can interact with agents and flows as part of the upcoming Duo agent platform project. This is going to be a low-fidelity exploration around this, really focusing on two ideas. One about flows solving an issue, and agents solving an issue, but in both cases, regardless of how the user is interacting with these systems, that there be a publicly visible record of all the actions and decisions that are made along the way to make this a real platform, an AI platform as opposed to just a single player, right? It's meant to work with everybody. And with that, let me get into it here. So one of the ways I can imagine users taking advantage of these features is by simply assigning an issue to Duo, right? So here I'm imagining in the existing GitLab UI a relatively simple issue of a missing alt tag or a missing alt text on an image. As a user, I imagine this is something that the agents can handle, so I'll just change the assignee on this issue from unassigned to Duo. I just use the existing UI to do this. Duo shows up as a particular kind of user. And as soon as I do that, it starts triggering some actions, which are all reflected down here underneath the issue description in the activity section. There's a record here that I, Andrew, assigned this to Duo, and Duo leaves a comment, just like any person would who picked up an issue, letting everyone know that it's starting to think about it. And if you want, you can view the full log of its work here. One of the things we'll have to be careful about is just how chatty and how many notifications we want to put into the issue. There will be a complete fire hose of log events and chain of thought reasoning available for these agents, but I think we're going to be selective of which pieces and how often we post those back into the main thread. So here you can see it's starting to work on it. In this scenario, Duo has decided that an existing flow, the issue to MR flow, is a good fit for this problem and is going to trigger that flow on its own. We could also change it so you ask for permission before doing that. But the important thing here, again, it's letting you know how it's going, right? Here, Duo has come up with a decision. It's posting what it's going to do. There's a record that it is starting this flow. And that flow, the first thing it did is assign it to a different specific agent inside of our agent platform, Duo Planner. Again, just touching back on the definitions between agents and flows. Agents you can think of as virtual employees. They're essentially a AI intelligence that's paired with access to GitLab API endpoints. They have the power to create issues, write code, etc., depending on how they're customized. Whereas a flow is a sort of standard operating procedure that incorporates one or many agents as part of it, right? And hopefully that'll be clear as we walk through this. I'll show you what I mean by that. So in this issue to MR flow, the first step that's been pre-planned elsewhere is that a planning agent should make a plan. So that is starting now. And you can see here that after the planning agent started to work. When it finished the plan, it came back and posted the plan in the comments. It said, "I've got a plan ready for review. This is generally how I want to try to tackle it." And in this particular flow, we've added a human approval step. This will vary with each flow that either GitLab creates and makes available to customers, or that each customer creates on their own. And you can either approve or revise the flow. Just for expediency, I'll say we approve the flow. But again, the fact that I approved it shows up inside the record. Everyone understands there was a plan, Andrew approved it. And again, now that flow continues to the next step, which is moving from Duo Planner now to Duo Developer, an agent that's actually just sort of a full stack software developer. And when the developer agent has finished its code, you can see here that the issue MR flow is completed. That was the last step. You can see click here to view the logs to see exactly how it all turned out if you want the details. But Duo Developer also posts a update here in the issue, letting everyone know, and particularly me, because since I triggered it, that this issue has now been remedied in this particular MR, and then also suggest maybe some actions, like would you like to go review the code diffs? Do you want to actually have Duo do the review as well? That issue to MR flow only covered as the name implies, probably going from an issue to an MR. If you wanted to go further than that, and the story would continue if I left to go view the MR, I could do the code review myself, or maybe I could ask an agent to do that. But in this story, I just want to focus on the different ways we can get to this same endpoint, right? So here we had a relatively simple flow of a planning agent making a plan, and then a developer agent coding the fix and creating an MR. And we started all that by assigning the issue to Duo. But there are other ways you could do that, like using the chat. Here a user might click open the Duo chat panel. You get the default message. They ask, can you fix this? And Duo understands what we're talking about here, that this is this, and can you fix this? It thinks for a moment, considering some options, and before it recommends this issue to MR flow. This is because it can tell this is a relatively simple problem. And then ask the user, do you want to start that flow? So far, so good, right? And here is the user, I say yes, right? And then it gives you immediate feedback. Great, I started the flow, and it's going to make a plan. And there's even a little click here that you could open up to see the full details of what's going on. But just like, that's what this dotted line's about, just like we did here when we were following everything in the activity section underneath the description, all that is still happening here, right? So even though if my eyeballs are focused on the chat, scroll down in this other view, and you will see these other things happening. That Andrew has started the flow issue to MR, and you can view the progress here, right? And as I go, as maybe my focus is in the chat window, and I'm like reading the plan, talking to it about the plan, artifacts from that conversation, like the important stuff, is showing up here, right? Here's the plan that everyone can see, right? Again, the importance being that any developer on the team can understand, can walk in and understand what the status of this issue is at any time, even while the agents are doing this live. Here I've said yes to the, should the plan proceed. But again, if I had just walked away from my computer forever and never come back, the plan is still there for everyone else to approve. When I approve, again, the record is still there. You can see how it's all going. Maybe in the chat, since the person has it open, we can be a little more verbose, a little bit more, provide more feedback, right? Like maybe give it a live update on every step and how it goes. Something I might not want to do in the issue itself, not wanting to trigger too many to-dos or email triggers that go out to folks. But we can be maybe a little chattier here in the chat. And same thing, you can see, right? Like when it's finished, you get the update there, but you can also get it in here. And that would just be one of the ways. Additionally, we could also start it with a button. On every page where it is applicable, the flows that are available for that page would be visible, right? Part of the definition of a flow would include the kinds of GitLab entities it should be shown with, right? You wouldn't want issue to MR to show up when you're actually viewing an MR because it's already an MR. We have another flow we're planning called enhance MR that we'd want to have only visible there and not on an issue, or say fix pipeline, right? You want to see that in the context of a pipeline. And I've imagined a couple others that I'm not sure we'll get in there, but just to sort of illustrate the point. The importance of these either buttons or links, sort of dedicated UI elements, I think is going to be really important for discoverability, right? So that users just going about their normal life, and I'm not sure if it would be in the right rail. That's just a starting point. But as they're going about using the tool normally, will just come across this idea of there's a thing called a flow. Some of them are available, and you can click here to get started. And if they're curious and try it out, they'll sort of be exposed to how this works, right? Without having to change anything about their current behavior to go find it. They won't have to go open up a chat and ask questions or go wander into an AI section. I want to meet people where they already are and how they're working. So that's what I mean by a button. So here the user just says, hey, go ahead and do this issue to MR. Maybe I've gone through that process with the chat before, and now I just know that button's here. I want to skip past the back and forth and just get to it. Great. And after that, it's very much the same story we told before, right? It's now off and running. You can see that that button isn't available right now. It has the running state. That also happened above. I just didn't focus on it. You can click the running to get the details. And it goes through those same steps, coming up with a plan, and then eventually telling me how it all turned out. Similarly, very much like the chat story, I want to be able to have users be able to @mention agents and pull them into the situation that way, right? Much like you would a coworker. So here I'm adding a comment to an issue. Hey, @Duo, can you fix this? And Duo can respond saying, sure, I'll go take a look at it. It assigns the issue to itself and starts taking a look. It's another way to sort of trigger that first level interaction like we did with assignment. And from there, it's maybe predictable at this point. The same things happen. These things all happen here. You get the plan and you can approve it. And at every point, it all being recorded for everyone to see. And maybe for advanced users, you could even do another way. You just do a slash command in the comment field to trigger a particular workflow. So those are 5 different ways how users could interact with flows. And the flows would then, again, chain events through a series of agents. This is a very simple flow I showed here, but these can get, we imagine these can get quite complex, involving lots of agents and branches and all that sort of stuff. But the important thing I want to focus on here is different ways to trigger them and kick them off, but importantly, everything being recorded inside the context. And with that, I'll go to the second story I want to talk about how you could work directly with agents. Here, whereas the way I'm thinking about flows is that flows are very good for commonly encountered problems, things that you see often, to where you can optimize a really standard operating procedure around it, right? So you can optimize for performance, cost, accuracy, whatever's most important to you. But there's going to be weird problems that come up too, right? Novel problems, complex problems. Here I came up with a scenario where a user has reported a very strange, like edge casey problem with accessibility, right? And there's some information in the description, but not enough to really understand what's wrong, right? They just know something's happened, but not exactly what's going on with the code. And here, maybe I'm a more experienced user. I could just open up a chat and start talking with Duo about the ticket, right? Just like I did before. I could, if there was a flow that was applicable to this, I could click a button and have it start. But because this is so novel and seemingly complex, in this scenario, I ask a particular agent that I know exists, right? The accessibility expert agent, to just perform an accessibility investigation, right? This would be somebody with an agent with similar technical capabilities like a developer, but it's just very narrowed and focused in on solving, not even writing the code necessarily, but just investigating and figuring out what is wrong with an accessibility issue. And here I asked it, please investigate this, more or less, right? And you can see here that what I typed into the comment is there for everyone to see, that the accessibility agent assigned the issue to itself and told everyone else that it's currently thinking about it, right? And when it's done, it creates a big report of what it found out, right? And puts this into the comments for everybody to see. And then assign the issue back to me, after also @mentioning me. And so that by both, this is true in all these cases, that by @mentioning me and by assigning things back to me, that will trigger the emails that I normally get, that'll have things show up in to-dos, that'll have things show up in my issues. So that way, again, no matter how folks use GitLab or whatever pieces of it they use, they'll still have the same kind of notification scheme and same kind of alerts. They don't have to go to a new AI inbox to find out what's going on, although we do want to build that too. But again, the idea is to, as much as possible, meet people where they are and then build on top of that. Here, this investigation came back with a lot of details that was really interesting. And so now, as this experienced agent user inside the GitLab platform, I'm essentially like cobbling together a flow that makes sense to me on the fly, right? The same way a flow, our first flow, took an issue and gave it to the planner agent, and then the planner agent would give it to the developer agent. Here, I'm chaining those together on the fly on my own, right? Maybe when we're all done here, I would take this and turn it into a new standard procedure, but for now it doesn't exist, but it provides that flexibility for folks. So here, I'm asking the planner agent to come up with a development plan. So given this analysis of the root causes of this accessibility issue from the accessibility expert agent, planning agent, can you please come up with like a plan for how we can fix this? And so, much like we've seen in the past, right, the Duo planner agent has picked up the issue. There's posts in here letting everyone know that it's going to assign to that agent, that it's working on the problem, and then it comes back with an idea. It recommends the following changes, and it comes up with a big list of things it wants to change. In this case, I decided to make them all expandable just to keep it condensed. But I'm curious, right? So focus management system sounds like a big deal. Let me click on that and I'll open it up. And it expands and shows a more detailed view about what needs to happen. In this case, most of the rest of this, we can imagine, if I'm the developer here, maybe these down here I'm comfortable with an agent implementing, but this one is something I really want to make sure I do myself. I want to make sure it gets done right. So I tell, when at the end of this question here, it asks, like, would you like me to create linked issues for each of these tasks? I'll say yes, but also assign the focus management system task to me, and then give the remainder to Duo developer. Okay, that makes sense, right? So like that, it's going to create a bunch of issues, assign one to me, and the rest to a different agent. And then it goes to work, right? Duo planner again goes back to work, thinking about things, and when it's done, it then again mentions me and lets me know, okay, I've created the following issues, linking each of them to each other, and then back to this issue. You can view them here. It is assigned the particular one I was interested in to me, and the rest have been assigned to Duo developer. And because those issues have been assigned to Duo developer, now the same flow we were experiencing at the very beginning is starting to kick off, right? The issue to MR kind of flow is happening now in each of those. Now that it already has a plan and a issue to a goal to work on. So now that by cobbling these together, I was able to kick off all 6 of these issues are now in flight with 5 of them, and then one for me to go work on. And that brings me to the end of my talk here. I hope this is useful. I've been seeing a lot of conversations about should we do chat, should we do comments, how should people interact with it. I really think that we can do all of it. I don't think we have to be prescriptive of telling people how to engage with this. Just let people use this intelligence that we're developing in whatever way makes sense for them, so long as, and importantly, everything gets recorded into into an artifact that everyone has access to, that we're constantly communicating the current state of everything, any decisions that were made. If you have a long conversation going back and forth on the plan in here, right? You don't necessarily need to capture every piece of that conversation and put it in the comments area, but a summary of it would be really important so that everyone understands, 3 paths were considered and 1 was chosen. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned for more of these in the future.